everyone. Welcome to the podcast where good trivia gets rewarded and bad lies are punished. But will we catch the lies? This is What's the Fact.
Yes, it is. What's the fact? And I will usually say there's no ways they'll catch my lies, but this guy and his psycho babble is starting to figure me out. And his name is Warren Robertson. I'm Ryan Whittle, and thank you so much for joining us. How you doing, Warren?
Good.
That's
Good. I
good.
think so. I'm rather exhilarated because I made a clean sweep last time, didn't I?
You did. I think you got full marks,
Yeah,
man.
full marks.
Damn it. It's
I don't
because
think that's happened to anyone before. I'm surprised you came back this week, to be honest.
Yeah, usually I'm so good with the lies, which is why I started with the truth. But, I'm an open book.
I think Dietz has been phoning you all week trying to talk you down, I believe. No, Ryan, get off the top of the building, Ryan.
You'll
Come and do a podcast. We'll make it about something you love.
come and find new ways to lie. Beat the lie
Yeah.
the walking lie detector test that is Warren Robertson.
Yeah, he's like, I'll give you a topic you really love, and you're like, really, the human centipede, and then,
No!
and then he was like, no, Ryan, not the human centipede.
No.
Engineering is what we'll do.
Yeah, you like Joanne Lurie now with the.
No, listen,
I've got a new
listen.
pink sock.
I realized this week that there's something we haven't done in a very long time, which is talk about this lady over here.
Oh,
I realized that mainly while Barent was squeezing my head between his car door and the, while he was like leaning on the car door, he had my head there and he was like, give us some money. Standard Bank wants some money. I was like, Barent, it's the end of the year. It's just been
nearly
Christmas. I don't have any money, Barent. Like I can't. It's a new year now. Nobody's got money in January, Barent. I can't pay $660 million for
the installment.
the real Mona Lisa, yeah. Like, I can't pay it, Barent. What are you doing? Like, you can't get blood out of a stone, Barent. And then he slammed my head in the door, and he said, yeah, but next month.
Oh, that's
So
nice.
we need $660 million. So if you could just like and subscribe and share and tell your friends.
Yes.
And then, maybe, I don't know, send some money or something.
We can use it as bargaining. We can say, now, Barent, we may only have 80-something subscribers now.
Yeah.
But Barent, once we hit 200...
Yeah, the money's just going to roll in, yeah. Look, Barent, we gained 6 subscribers this month. Please don't take our thumbs.
I think if we can tune him that a subscriber equals...
Like a portion of cash.
Yeah.
Like if we could hit 100 subscribers this week, Barent may not have to break our knees.
Yes.
So if you could just share, like, subscribe, tell your friends.
And if we tell him, hey, Barent, we'll leverage these likes for you, he's going to get the whole of Kraaifontein to like and subscribe our podcast.
That's right, yeah. I mean, I'm so tired. So tired of having my head slammed in the car door. I can't.
Standard Bank doesn't shut
They
down for holidays.
Mess around. They don't mess around. Standard Bank. You owe them money, any amount of money. It doesn't have to be $660 million. It can be a small amount.
This new Netflix movie that claims to have burnt the Mona Lisa's got the fake.
Yeah.
We've got the glass onion.
Glass onion. That's
went
right.
Up in flames.
That's right, yeah.
Plot.
Hey,
spoiler.
I've got a glass onion fun fact that I noticed.
Oh,
There's
yeah?
an Easter egg in Glass Onion. Yeah, so Daniel Craig's character. Obviously,
Yes.
Daniel Craig very famously played James Bond.
Yes.
His character is wearing an Omega Seamaster
Oh.
watch, which is the watch worn by James Bond. Anyway, but there we go. So there's a
Easter
Glass
egg.
Onion trivia piece for you, so just so that you know it's just things we know.
He knows so much.
Yeah.
But boy, has Dietz given us a monstrous thing this
Yeah,
week.
it's too big. It's too big, and I know I've said that before, but this week it was too big. It was too big. I couldn't even fit it all in.
The trouble is you need to know things like maths and physics.
Yeah, because the topic's engineering. If we haven't made that clear.
Engineering.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of leaning on a series of dick puns there, Ryan, that you really sort of. It's too big to fit it all in.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I mean, come on, Ryan. Like, help me out a little bit. Like, this is
Yeah.
going to be a long podcast if we don't.
It's going to take
If
so
we
long
don't
to
know.
erect
That's
this
right.
engineering feat.
That's right. Good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're doing engineering this week, and you're right. It is too large. There's too many kinds of engineering. Basically, all of human creation is engineering of some form or another. Chemical engineering, electrical engineering, civil engineering. The old joke, civil engineering. They're just much more polite than the others. Anyway, good. I think it's my turn to start.
It is your turn to
My turn
start.
and I don't really know where to begin. I think, given that we've started in with an erect thing, I'm just going to start really simple. We're running. Francois Eiffel is known worldwide as the architect of the Eiffel Tower in Paris, but only a few know that he designed the internal structure, the framework of the Statue of Liberty as well. That is my fact.
My historical instincts tell me that that is false because
Why?
I think the Statue of Liberty was closer to the War of Independence because it was France's way of saying, yeah, fuck the British, America, well done, fuck them, and so here's the statue from us.
Right, so in the the War of Independence was what, 1780s? 1783?
Yes, so I think that this was closer to the end of that war.
And if I tell you when the Statue of Liberty was built, will that help you?
It could.
Yeah, so it was constructed between 1875 and 1884.
Okay, and the Eiffel Tower, I first thought it initially was about 1930.
I think isn't it 1905 World Fair?
Shit, so that's quite close. So it could have been the bugger.
I like to lure you in. Once I think you're on the right track, I like to give you some
what's that
more
word?
misleading facts. Yeah, the little crumbs that lead you away from the correct path and out further into the deep dark forest.
Crumbs, because we had an episode on fairy tales, and that was
That's right.
the Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah. I'm
Gretchen.
Hansel and Greteling you away from the facts.
Yes,
Like some old witch.
and of course the word for a option which is just there to lure you away is called a red herring.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say it's a color and it's a fish. It's a red herring. Yes, it's a red herring. So now it actually could be the same bloke.
Yeah, 1875 to 1884 was the Statue of Liberty. I think it was
I-
1905
you know what?
World Fair was
I'm
Eiffel
still-
Tower. That's what I've
Internal
got in my head. I don't know
structure,
whether that's true.
I'm
though.
just going to say that the Eiffel Tower. Here's why I'm going to say it's a lie, because the Statue of Liberty is a pretty person. The Eiffel Tower is this. Pardon me, French. It's this ugly straight thing.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he didn't build the Eiffel Tower. He built
The
the Statue
structure.
of Liberty. I mean, he built the
internal
inner structure. Yeah, the internal structure. Which would have been, I don't know, steel bars and
Let
shit.
me use some Warren Robertson psycho babble here. So he wants me to go, oh, well, then it must be the same guy.
Yeah.
And then he's going to go, wow, I got you. It was his brother, Leonard. I feel you are telling me the falsehood. I'm going to stick with, for some just reason, based on psychobabble, I'm going to say you started with a lie. It's not the same guy.
I mean, it's unfortunate that you said it's not the same guy, because it is the same guy, but it is still a lie, because I changed the name. His name isn't Francois Eiffel. It's Alexandre Gustave Eiffel.
That's a Ryanism. That's a
Ryaned
beautiful
you,
Ryanism.
yeah, Ryaned
Yeah,
up.
you
But
certainly-
unfortunately, I seem to have Ryaned myself, because if I hadn't Ryaned myself, you would have gotten it right. You would have gotten it right, and then, I mean, you would have gotten it wrong, and I would have started with a win, but now you got it right, because, yeah, it was built in France between 1875 and 1884, the Statue of Liberty. It was disassembled and shipped to New York City in 1885 and reassembled on Liberty Island in 1886. Since then, the
with
torch...
instructions. He took
Yeah.
A1 and plug it into
Yeah,
F3.
like IKEA. It's a big flat pack, and they had to fold it out with an Allen key. Yeah.
Shit,
Yeah.
the head is up the ass. We've done something wrong here.
Yeah, but over the years they've changed the torch. They've changed the torch a bunch of times, and apparently she's not the original color that she once was, and all these sorts of things. Because metal oxidizes, so that's what
Okay.
happens. Yeah, the
So has she
oxidization
gone
is-
a little darker?
No, I think she's gone greener. So that's what oxidization, it rusts it, right? So it kind of changes that color. But yeah, so it was the same guy, Alexander Gustave Eiffel,
Ah,
not
that's a
Francois Eiffel. I'm
Yes.
very sorry to anyone who heard Francois Eiffel and immediately turned off the podcast. You're the suckers. You
Yes.
shouldn't have done it. You shouldn't have done it. Just trust us. Just trust. Come with us.
And as he said, he rhymed himself, which means I got the point. So
You did, yeah.
I hope
did.
you rhyme yourself all
For
night
the rest
long.
of
It's gonna be, he rhymed himself again. Oh dear.
I think we could use the word rioting himself for something far more hideous than simply simply getting something wrong.
Oh, golly. I can't get that image out of my mind. It's your fault. That hideous movie. Okay, so it's my first engineering fact. I'm gonna come up with a fact of something that I can see from my balcony. Do you know what I can see from my balcony?
Oh, I don't know, a strip club probably.
Besides the strip club, which is probably engineered very well, I can see Sir Lowry's Pass.
Oh,
Because I
can you?
moved to the lovely Gordons Bay region, and I don't look at the ocean. That's probably a bit more expensive. I look at the mountain. Well, there's a bloody church in front, so it spoils the view of the mountain. But we'll put in a petition to have the church
Removed.
They
Yeah, I mean, listen, Gordons Bay is probably like every small town in South Africa's probably got enough churches.
do. Just guys, go one more block
Like
to the
it's,
next
yeah, it's like
congregation.
each church has got 12 people in it instead of one big church that has like 500.
Why can't small towns have the mega church auditorium vibe that all the big cities have? So I can see Sir Lowry's Pass, and Sir Lowry's it's the pass which goes from Somerset West to the Elgin Valley. It's the start. It's the N2 highway, and it's as when the Dutch came here in 1652. Already the Khoi people would walk that way along. They knew about the pass, and so the Dutch and British settlers over the years built a roughish kind of pass based on the Khoi original pass, and on that. At some point, it was in 1830, they actually decided to make a better pass of it. But before then, there was a lot of traffic. There's 4,500 ox wagons a year were making their way over the pass.
A lot of traffic. 4,500 divided by 365, You're talking about 14, is it?
That's
yeah,
a lot.
14, 15, like
There's 14 of these.
14 or 15 ox wagons a day.
What a day for you today, Tollbooth Willie.
I got stuck in. I got stuck in the bitch of the traffic. There was 14 other wagons on the fast today. Sorry, I'm home late.
My fact is that of that number of ox wagons a year, 20% were damaged.
Oh, by the
coming over the pass, yeah. 20% of all ox wagons.
I mean, that's a lot, right? It's like 800 ox wagons a year that are getting damaged going over that pass. Look, there has to be a reason, because 4,500 is not a lot. There has to be a reason why they decide to reinforce that pass. And I guess 20% of them getting damaged. It was more than that, wasn't it? It was 50%. You're rioning this. I can see it happening. I just suddenly realized you're rioning. You are rioning this. It's not high enough. You are a liar.
Jeez, I was thinking about rioning it, but I just stuck with it. It was only about 20% before 1828. 20% of ox wagons coming over Sir Lowry's Pass were actually being damaged. And here's what's quite interesting is a lot of the ruts that were formed of them pulling the wagons along the mountain, the ruts are still there. This is hysterical. I don't know why. And the area where the ruts are has been declared a national monument.
Yeah, maybe the reason it's funny is because we're definitely going to do that with the larger potholes eventually. We're going to do exactly the same thing. This is dedicated to the ANC's period of government between 1999 and to the 2019. These large potholes formed and then became part of the culture of the area.
And because that, we'll continue to drive around the road.
That's
That kind of weird 4x4 thing. You've gone up the sidewalk and along the garden path and then down again. Will be the main road, and we'll go around this.
This national monument of wondrous potholes that have been left behind for us to admire and enjoy. The Romans built roads that are still unpotholed now, 2,000 years after they built them. And I wish we could learn how to do that.
No, but are they getting diesel trucks from Secunda every day on them?
Probably not, but 2,000 years as opposed to 3.5 weeks. Somebody's making some kind of mistake.
Not funny, but the Boksburg blast. What was he doing on a suburban road? My word, not funny.
Oh, yeah. Gee, that's 3 weeks ago, right?
Yeah.
I mean, are you insane?
Yeah.
Anyway, good.
Yes, and so that's my fact, and you got it wrong. You got it wrong. Yeah.
No, you're off to a
Oh,
very
you
strong
know what's also
start.
funny is the British. So this was the British who then by 1830 made a reinforced
So
path.
who built the pass? Is it?
Yeah, the British.
Oh,
and
just the
and,
British.
and, and then there's been sort of every 50 years or so, then they put a train one as well, as a train thing as well. But they've just kind of reinforced it over the years. But the last reinforcements weren't any time recent. I think it was in the 1980s. But just kind of more pillars or making a bit wider, or some sections have been widened. But what I like about after 1830 with the Oxwagon thing is there was a toll booth at the top. I don't know why that's funny. There's a toll road.
What were they charging people?
I don't know. Imagine it's like, it'd be £5, but I don't have anything. How many chickens
But
have you got?
imagine that's your job. Like you have to sit there all day for 15 Volkswagens.
I've only got 5 chickens and a goose. I'll take those. Thank you very much. There's like how much you collect today? £50 and 2 chickens and 5 geese. Good day. It's like,
I mean, you know what? I bet you it was an informal toll road. It was just some oak. He's fucking up there with his toll booth. Anyway,
do you know that story of the oak of the parking lot in the UK?
Yes, who spent like
brilliant.
years, like 20
People
years.
thought it was owned by the municipality, and then some thought by the shopping centre. No one questioned him. And
he just set up his own toll booth, and he took money from people for 20 years, and then just one day packed it all in and went on retirement.
I mean, he deserves a bloody Pulitzer Prize.
No, the reason I asked you who built the pass quite
British.
specifically is because
British.
obviously, no, I know, but I think it's. I asked you specifically, like who's the person, because I thought maybe it was Andrew Bain, who's obviously quite famous in South Africa for building passes. He built the Bainskloof Pass.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, which still stands today. It's just south of Ceres. So
Oh.
I would have, and that was built in like 1853. So I thought maybe it's possible that he also built this other
Oh, wow.
pass. I mean, I really don't know. I know that he built a bunch of them. The Swartberg Pass. I'm trying to remember who built the. What's that one that goes to that high point in Lesotho there? Anyway.
Oh.
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of South Africa's passes were built by Andrew Bain, and it's this like Bain's legacy is these passes all over the country. So I'm just wondering if that was maybe one of them.
Well, we're talking passes. My favourite pass that I've been on in South Africa is Robinson's Pass. Have you ever been on that one?
No, I don't as a matter of rule, because fuck the Robinsons. We're the Robertsons. Fuck the Robinsons. They're dicks, all of them. No, where's that one?
I'll tell you where it is. Like when we were small, we'd drive from Vereeniging to Stilbaai, where my grandfather lived. And so at some point, you turn from the N1 towards Oudtshoorn, and you go past I think it's when you start hitting the Outeniqua. And you also go where the Kango Caves are, past the Kango Caves. And it's somewhere there. It must be the Outeniqua Mountains. But you go over Gloria. Man, it's beautiful. And almost always it's like overcast and there's cloud cover and it's just so pretty. Lovely. The Robinsons.
Terrifying.
Robinsons Pass.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Amazing. That's a. I mean, these kind of these grand works, that people did in like the Victorian era seems very popular for these grand works of bridges and passes and things that they developed. Yeah, that we just don't attempt these things anymore for some reason. We seem to track the old roots.
Yeah.
The old things. Anyway, the reason I was thinking about that is because so here's my fact. In the 1800s in England, in order to combat the great stink and the terrible cholera outbreaks, London developed the world's first citywide sewer system. And prior to this, people would just shout, they'd shout "Gardeloo," and then they'd throw their feces out in the street. Yeah. And that's how it worked. And then the feces would be washed by the rain into the River Thames, and this was making people sick and making the whole city smell bad and all these sorts of things. So they developed the first proper citywide sewage system, and that's my fact.
And the date was about the 1800s.
Yeah, it was in the 1800s. Yeah, Victorian. Yeah, Victorian England.
Citywide sewage system. Well, there was always some sort of. I was always thinking. Imagine you made a historical documentary called "What Did They Do with Their Poo?" Because because
No, it's quite a big question,
I had
right?
a feeling that the Romans were quite sophisticated at it, and that they might have actually had.
So they had public baths where you would go. You could have like a public shit, and then the water would wash away. But you had to go to like a public. You had to go to a public toilet. So it wasn't citywide. It was quite specific storage. Yeah, and you'd sit next to a dude, and then here's the creepy part. Here's the creepy part. You'd have a brush that you shared with everyone else that you scrubbed yourself with, and everybody would share the same brush, like a toilet brush. Like imagine if the toilet brush in the public loo. There was no toilet paper. You just took the toilet brush from the public loo, scrubbed your asshole, and then you went about your day. But not only that, you and I would sit like this while we're having a poo, and we'd talk. We'd talk about all the big things. Did you hear what that dickhead, Caesar said this week? Well, what an asshole! He's proposing abolishing all poor people, not through giving us money, but through murdering us all. And then and then I'd be like, anyway, I'm done. I'm quite empty. And then I'd pick up and then I'd scrub my asshole in front of you.
Are you done there? Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Would you like the brush? That's how it worked. But this is now citywide.
But
That
I think it was. I think I saw a documentary. It was Ephesus or something like that, which was a nice sloping city.
But so Ephesus had that Roman system. It had
Yes.
public toilet type systems. I'm saying
But what's nice is you did your thing into a thing of water, a trough thing, which ran down.
well, no, you sat on a stone bench that had holes cut in it at Ephesus,
how
and then you would sit in the hole.
nice.
But we would sit next to
That's
each other.
great,
We'd have to
man.
go to a facility.
Yeah.
What I'm saying now is London has created a facility where no longer did people have to throw the chamber pots. They were now tapping into a local sewer system within their homes, and they were defecating into a sewer system from within their own homes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
I hope.
And that's why this is a historical engineering feat, because obviously it was the famous physician John Snow who started assuming that in fact you couldn't just stand at the river and then catch all the poo and stop it from going in the river to make everybody better. It was too late.
Right.
It was too late. Like it was running in the streets, and that's what was
Look,
giving
and
everybody
the
cholera.
Industrial Revolution must have been a big problem for poo. So I'm inclined to go. I think you're telling the truth, but something is annoying me saying that sewage, even in a settlement of sorts with quite a lot of people, goes back older than London in the 1800s, in the Victorian
But I mean,
era.
think about it. Throughout the whole of Europe is shitting in chamber pots for. I mean, like how old do you want to go? Ephesus is pre.
No, Ephesus is old.
the BC,
Yes.
right? So you're saying from BC for 2,000 years, what we did was instead of replicating Ephesus, we are just Ephesus. we're just taking up here and throwing it out the window, and we're doing that voluntarily because chill.
I know
Like-
about the chamber pot thing. They even joked about it in one of the plays.
Yeah.
It was
Like
the
that's
play
what the
about
whole of Europe was doing.
A Man for All Seasons. They joke about
Yeah,
a
that's
chamber
what the
pot.
whole of Europe was doing. Was they were just
Fuck,
throwing their
man.
shit in there and their piss out the window, their night soil as they called it, out the window into the street.
I love the euphemism.
Yeah, and then you must remember
Night
that
soil.
remember that
You threw
people
shit at me. It was night soil.
You must remember that people were riding horses as well, so that's extra night soil in your street. Like there was just the streets were.
We and poo.
Yeah, they weren't pleasant. They weren't pleasant, and you're saying that for 2,000 years people did this voluntarily. That we invented sewage, and then for 2,000 years we were just like, fuck it, let's throw it out the window.
Oh, what am I saying? You're trying to trick me, aren't you? Okay. What am I saying?
I
What
don't
am
know.
saying?
It might be a double bluff, right?
See, sometimes technology takes a while to catch on.
Yeah,
I
like
mean, we're in
2000,
South
yeah.
Africa and we don't really have power all the time for everyone. I'm still going to say it's false. It's got to predate London in the Victorian era. Even though there were chamber pots,
This is
unfortunately,
genuinely
saying false.
one of Victorian England's greatest engineering feats. They boast about it, right? Like it's the sewer system in Victorian London is boasted about.
Okay.
This is how it's that big.
Yeah, I'm sure they improved upon it. I'm saying still the fact is false. It wasn't the first. Because you're saying it's the first ever.
I think it's the first citywide.
First city.
Yeah, citywide,
No. No. Predates that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I was lying.
Wow.
I don't know what London is on. I don't know why people spent 1,000 years throwing their poo out of windows. I don't know what they did it for. Like, even in Scotland, there's a little town called Scarabray.
Scarabray.
Yeah, on one of the Orkney Islands, where it's a little town, right? So it's only 10 houses. But they had channeled, like, toilets in each house into an individual channel that then ran off into the sea. Like, it's only 10 houses, but they had effectively built like sewage for each and every single house. And then, I mean, even bigger than that is there's a place which we only recently discovered. It was found in 1911, only excavated in 1922, in Pakistan called Mohenjo-daro, which it's a city of 40,000 people, where they find that they had full-on sewage in every single home, and this city is from 2,500 BC.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so people had invented this thing. They had decided to be clean and decent and, like, get rid of their feces and their urine out of their homes. Nobody had to sit in a public square like in Rome. And then for some reason, I mean, Mohenjo-daro, there's many reasons why we've got to admire it as an engineering feat, because they do a lot of things that shouldn't technically have been done back then. Like so it's in Pakistan, and it's in the Indus Valley, and every year the river there floods, and this city had its own flood protection that they would erect every single year that would protect them from the flood, and they had extra drainage to try and drain the city, and they did things that we see quite common now, but it wasn't common then, which is stuff like standardization of building equipment. So, like, all the bricks are the same size. They all come in a 4:1 ratio. Like everything's standardized. So the whole city looks like it was built with planning. It's on a grid system. Jeez. It's got sewerage. It's 2,500 years BC. Yeah, and then somehow we enter this kind of phase where we just think it's okay for like 1,000 years in Europe, like primitive savages, to throw our shit out of the window and be like, it's coming now.
And a young Scottish man from Scarborough goes and studies in London, and then he comes home on the weekend to his dad. He says, "You don't go shit in your chamber pots like in London. This is not London. You shit down in a proper sewage system.
This is not what the civilized people are doing. What we're doing here in Scarborough is for animals. For animals. Here's your pot. You shit in that. You throw it out the window. Like a civilized human being. I will not come home and be ashamed of you again. We shite in the pot and we threw it out the window. We're not animals.
How do you think the carrots grow so nicely? Right. You throw that shit on the carrots and it grows very nicely.
We're not fucking savages. I not come back to Scotland and watch us throw it out the fucking window. Like let it run down a series of channels and into the ocean. We're gonna throw it out the window like a civilized nation. But Scarabray's from 3,000 BC. Fuck. So yeah.
Wow, man.
Yeah. So Scarabray was really early, and then this place was like on the other end of Europe into Asia, 2,500 BC. So clearly people were digging channels, making like proper sewage system for a really long time, and then, as you say, the Romans probably they were like, huh. How quaint. Shit by yourself. Sorry, a shit by yourself? This is for an insular loner. No, we shit it together. We all shit it together in the one place.
How else do we share the news of the day?
That's right. You are an animal. You do not want to share the news. And then after the Romans, just everyone's like, we don't know what to do with this. Why does this stuff keep coming out of my body? Like every day. I don't know what to do with it. Let's throw it out the window.
What's the matter with you, London? You think your shit don't stink?
Yeah, and then London. I mean, they built a sewer system that's so big. Apparently, like the pipes and things are so big that the city can grow to something like 10 times the size it is now. And the sewer system in many places, as long as they maintain it, will still be able to clear all the sewage. But yeah,
Petrified they are.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm not coming home and watching you shower yourself. In London, they have one bath a year. That's what we're gonna do. That's what we're gonna do, like the civilized English.
Watch this. Okay,
Yeah.
so when too much sewage builds up, all those gases are released. There could be like an explosion so severe that it's almost nuclear. Speaking of nuclear explosion,
Oh, brilliant! I didn't even notice.
my next fact,
What an excellent transition there, Ryan. I wish
my next
you could be-
engineering.
You could be a breakfast DJ.
I'm sticking local because local is lekker, and we're going to the other side of where my mom lives, like 10 k's down the beach.
Eventually, people are going to be able to work out where your mom lives.
Yeah,
They're going to be
definitely.
outside your mom's house.
Besides-
Ryan's mom's house. Phone Ryan. Phone Ryan. Phone Ryan.
He's like, yeah, because in the episode he spoke about the Battle of Bloberg, so
Yeah.
she's kind of there, and then he spoke about the Kuberg Power Station, and he said 10 k's.
Oh, is that what you're talking about now? You're
Yes.
talking about the Kubrick Power. Okay,
Kuberg
right.
Power Station in terms of engineering feat. So, I think it was built in the 70s, but my fact actually is that it can withstand, because obviously the Fukushima disaster makes everyone go, uh-oh, what if that happened here? It can withstand an earthquake with a magnitude of 5 on the Richter scale.
Yeah, but it has to because it's actually built on a fault.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, so I would hope that they've built it so that it can withstand an earthquake, because if they haven't, Cape Town's in
Deep shit.
Yeah.
And Melkbos.
Yeah, and not just because everyone's throwing it out the window to be civilized like the English. Yeah, I would hope it could withstand an earthquake because it's literally on a fault.
With a 5 Richter reading of 5 in the Richter scale.
I mean, maybe even higher.
Maybe even higher.
I'm saying it's true. It could withstand a 5 Richter scale earthquake.
Maximum 5?
Oh no, I'm not going to delve into there. I'm going to just answer the question posed by your. I'm going to say 5.
It could be a Ryan. I could be trying to Ryan.
Yeah, no, it does sound like you're rhyming me. As I said, it could even be more because they literally built it on a fault. They must have known.
Okay, I'll give it to you. I was trying to Ryan you because it can actually withstand a 7 on the Richter scale,
Yeah.
which is very, very high. Apparently,
Yeah.
recorded history has in the 1806. I didn't know they could do Richter scale readings in 1806, or maybe they have a way of backdating them. I'm
Right.
not sure, but
Yeah, I'm sure that.
in Bissisfontein, I don't know where the hell that is, but that had
No one
an
knows who that is. Not even the people who live in Bissisfontein. Because if you live in Bissisfontein, you get no education. Nothing.
There's no
Nothing.
signal.
You just live there, and you're born there, and you think that's the whole world.
Yeah.
And there's Jesus, and then Jesus takes you at 36. Like that is your whole
Good
life.
life.
Yeah, it's a good life. It's it's not a complex life.
There's no signal there, not even in their brains. It's just like Bissie's something had measured something. So I take it it's in the Western Cape. Yeah, 6.5 in the Richter scale, 1806. I don't know
Is
how
that
they
the highest we've ever had in South Africa? Is that what
must
you're saying?
be. I don't know how they could know that, but yes, indeed. And the reason. Did you know that Kuberg is built on a thing called an aseismic raft?
Yes.
Now, I meant to look that up, but I don't know what it is. But it's an aseismic
Uh-huh.
raft. So it's built on a raft. That's nice.
So
Well,
like a crack that's, I
must
suppose,
be
horizontal, I would guess.
Must be a thing that, like, if
I mean, we're literally just guessing. If you know the
aseismic
answer,
raft.
let us know, and we'll find out in a few weeks, and then we'll know.
But it's
Whatever.
also, you know why it's built next to the ocean?
Yeah.
So that the water can cool the
Right.
the uranium. So it's got a thing that goes on an independent circuit that can suck. I think that's the word, pump. Pump is the word. Sorry, I mean pump. They can pump through its isolated circuit, 80,000 tons a second of water.
You know, I just wish you'd said you can suck 80,000 tons a second, because then your mother would have been back in this podcast.
It was like, I can just imagine if we learned this fact in school. You see the chick, she's like Kuberg, man. You see, hey, Grant's girlfriend, she's like flipping Kuberg power station, and she can suck 80,000
Liters.
tons of water a second, man. She can fucking, hey, how's your girlfriend, old Kuberg? Is she okay? Eh? Fuck off, folks. Sir, ask him if his girlfriend's name is Kuberg. Okay.
Sir, ask him.
Grant, Mr. Smith, is your girlfriend's name Kuberg? Oh, sir, just stop it, mate. Stop it. Lying is on. What's the matter, Grant? No, leave me alone. Fuck off, folks. I'm just playing out a typical
There are people that went to normal schools that weren't just all boys schools that have no idea what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, and I'm sure some of the old boys schools are quite sophisticated. Ours wasn't. It was fun and
No,
I loved
ours
it.
wasn't either.
Oh, fuck
Ours
you,
wasn't
Oaks.
either.
No, it was you chicks like Kuberg Power Station. So okay, so that's why it's by the lovely cool Atlantic waters, so it can cool the bloody uranium things that they're doing to it. And you know that the waste, do you know where it goes?
No, I
'Cause
mean,
this
did
is
they throw it out the window?
It goes in the sewage.
Oh, there we are.
In a chamber. Oi, there's
Yeah,
nuclear waste coming out the window.
Yeah, night soil.
It gets taken in concrete blocks to some 600 kilometers away, somewhere in the Kalahari.
I hope they
Shh,
put up
don't
signs.
tell Botswana government that.
So there's a very interesting thing where like debate around. So obviously, decaying nuclear matter is going to last for thousands of years, right? And when we bury it, we have to have a way of telling future generations. I mean, assuming the planet survives, of telling future generations.
Label the Tupperware. That's what I
Yeah,
say.
that this is a dangerous area, right?
Yeah.
But how do we do that, knowing that they will probably not speak the same language as us? So there's quite a lot of debate around how do you make a sign that indicates this thing is dangerous to generations thousands of years in the future, when language for them will have changed, colors will have changed, like what the meanings of colors are, the meanings of words. How do you say this thing is deadly? And that's so there's a big debate about the optimum way is to put a sign up that says stay away from this nuclear facility, because we know that we've fucked this up so badly that you, thousands of years in the future, have evolved to the point that you can no longer speak our language, you no longer understand us at all, but you can understand that this is bad for you.
That's fascinating,
Yeah.
man.
Anyway, so that's what the Kalahari's for, apparently. Yeah. Soon there'll be superhero sand people, like in the near future. Hey, sand people, if you could just become superheroes, we need a couple of you guys. Anyway, right. My fact, I'm going to take this because we've so far been dealing with quite big engineering stuff, and engineering's not just that; it's like all the finicky little stuff as well. So I wanna the inventor of the Fender Stratocaster, perhaps revered as one of the greatest guitars of all time. He couldn't play the guitar. That's my fact.
Gee, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast a few months ago on that. Do you know that instrument that it sounds like a ghost noise, and it's been used in ghost movies ever since?
With like the penny whistle.
Something like that, yeah. Yeah, but it makes it weird. And it's used in famously in Good Vibrations.
Okay.
And in all sort of ghost stories. And that's got nothing to do with this fact whatsoever, except that it was...
Yeah, I once watched a podcast about a musical instrument. Have you heard of the bagpipes?
So the oak who made that fancy guitar
Yeah,
couldn't
the
play
Fender
the
Stratocaster. Yeah.
Couldn't play the guitar. It's a simple yes or no, isn't it, Ryan? No need to think about it too deeply. I don't really know. And I'm trying to figure out, is it possible for someone to create an instrument when they can't play it? Sounds like. But then this is what's the fact.
Yeah, I want to mislead you.
I'll say, okay, I have no idea why, but I think it's true, and I'm probably wrong, because is it possible for someone to invent an instrument that they can't play? but for some weird reason, I'll say, yes, you're right, it's true.
I mean, it is true. It is true.
Really?
Yeah. Leo Fender was his name. He grew up. He played a little bit piano, a little bit of saxophone, but
Oh.
what he was actually interested in was radio technology and electronics.
Oh.
And so he studied radio technology and electronics, and this eventually led to him working as a repairman for amplifiers.
Oh.
And so he worked as an amplifier repairman for so long. He eventually thought to himself, I can develop my own amplifier. Developed his own amplifier. It was superior. It started selling quite nicely. And then he made friends with a quite popular guitarist at the time, and he sort of said, well, I think I can make a new sort of interesting kind of guitar. And he teamed up with this guy, and they started producing these guitars. And interestingly, the reason the Fender Stratocaster is really as famous as it is because it sounded different to all the other guitars, right? So it's got 3 pickups, where most of them had 2. It's got sort of wire coiled magnets in the pickups, and these send really strong vibrations through to the amplifiers. And at the time, he was trying to persuade country music stars to use these guitars. It was quite a new sort of original sound, but they weren't really interested. It didn't really sound like what they wanted. But he'd happened to invent it just at the kind of cusp of the creation of rock and roll music.
Sure.
So as rock and roll music kind of starts taking off, people are like, this is the instrument that we want. To start playing this kind of music on, and it sounds perfect for that. And so like now, basically, if you draw an electric guitar, you're probably drawing a Fender Stratocaster.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so it's one of these like the other thing he added was that metal lever on the end of the guitar that you could then use to change the pitch of the music. So you know that so then you could change the way that you're playing it. And initially, what he developed was like a lap guitar, and then the Fender Stratocaster was the new thing. But now, I mean, it literally reached a point where like they reckon there's hundreds of millions of these have been sold. You know, the company themselves, they don't know how many they've actually made. They've just sold so staggeringly many of them. But it hit the stores in, I think it was spring of 1954.
Oh, wow.
And they didn't sell a single one for 3 months.
Yeah.
First one sold in the summer of 1954. So as you can see, 1954 is basically the beginning of
Yes.
rock music really kind of starts taking off
It
properly.
It needed a few influences like Elvis Presley or so. But even I don't know if he was...
But he used to hire musicians to play the guitars that he thought would sound new and unique and new and interesting.
Yeah.
He'd have to like, I've made this thing. Let me see what it sounds like. And he'd go out and hire a guitarist.
You know, the famous turning point of folk music was old Bob Dylan was it Glastonbury? Is that a festival?
It is a festival.
Was that the one where he was booed for playing... Because he picked up a rock,
did he?
An electrical
An actual
guitar,
electric
and then
guitar.
the folk fans were like, "Boo!"
No, they were
But
right to boo him.
He never turned back, man. And I think he played like a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, look, I mean,
think.
Bob Dylan's like my Seinfeld moment.
You don't
Like
know,
I really
don't.
don't.
You
Not a
don't
big
get
fan
Bob.
of Seinfeld. I don't get Bob.
I get
I
him.
don't get Bob.
He's
I feel
beautiful.
like-
I told you to
I think
watch
it's
that
just his
thing on
voice
Netflix.
irritates me.
Sure it does. There's
Sure it does.
um,
You're not interested in having this
you
debate.
got to think past the voice. No, there's the Rolling Thunder review on Netflix. I highly recommend it. It's he goes on tour when he's already famous, but he goes and plays small places and not his big songs. He just wants to change people's consciousness, man. That's what it's about, man. Come on.
Yeah, that arrogance is also part of the reason I don't like him. What a wanker.
And you know who went on the tour with him? She was a young girl.
Of course, young girls went on the tour with him. It's creepy.
She just went for the ride because he said, "Man, you should come along." I said, "Oh, okay." It was Sharon Stone.
And how old was she?
I think she's about 18.
No, I bet she was younger than that.
Do you think?
Yeah, I bet you she was. Creeper. No, I don't know. Just never gotten him. And I've got friends who also like that. Think he's great.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad to hear he's a bit of a Roman Polanski. It gives me another reason to.
I like Bob.
But
Before we go
Bob,
talking about
honestly,
music.
like people above the age of 21, Bob. I mean, he's now 70, right? Isn't he?
Yeah, but he's still touring.
So
he's
half
still
his age
singing,
plus
man.
7, so 42 and plus.
Yeah.
Bob.
Do you know what's remarkable about? Fine, we'll talk music. Fine, you twisted my arm. But the what's that song Man, I just heard it the other day. It's got a there's a little. They formed a little band in the late '80s. George Harrison, um,
Oh yeah.
Bob Dylan, the
Traveling
Traveling
Wilburys.
Wilburys,
Yeah.
yes. And that little song of theirs, there's one big hit that they made about the end of the line.
Yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah.
actually what it's called.
And it's all right.
Yeah.
Driving around in the city, well, it's all. It's like, I never
Tom
appreciated
Tom
it.
Petty's in there.
I never appreciated it when I was, 9 years old. But man, it's a beautiful song. And all the voices on that. Yes, Tom Petty's there, George Harrison, Roy Orbison, Bob Dylan, and even the other dude is from ELO, Electric Light Orchestra or something, which is also a wonderful band. They all just got together to make some music, man.
The
Just
Traveling
like,
Wilburys are wonderful because they sort of tone Bob Dylan. It's not focused Bob Dylan.
Mm-mm.
You know, like if you eat, say, just pure. Just like if you just eat chili, like you just eat a habanero,
Yes,
it's a
yes.
hectic experience, right?
Yeah.
You take a little bit of habanero and you chop it into mince, some
Better.
black beans, whatever. It's a delicious meal.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's what the
Bob
traveling
Dylan. Bob
Wilburys
Dylan
are.
is like a pedophilic habanero. Oh, I'm gonna get hate
You
for
probably
that
go.
one.
Oh, thank you, man. That sounds great.
Definitely getting hate for that one.
So from Bob Dylan and the Ben Defender and
Yeah.
that sort of thing, we're going back to boring old big things.
Boring
which-
old
well, this is quite a controversial thing because the Crimean Bridge, I
Right,
mean,
yeah, which they
so-
recently blew up.
yeah, but it was built very, very recently after
Yeah.
the annexation. The day afterwards, he said, we're going to build it. It turns out that there'd been plans even before the annexation. The previous president, before Zelensky, was sort of a pro-Russian one. But even as far back as 2009, maybe 2003, there was talks of a bridge between mainland Russia and Crimea, all sorts of benefits economically. And then they didn't quite happen. And then I think with the changeover between Zelensky and the old one, it just kind of stopped completely. Negotiations broke down for that bridge. But Putin, the day after annexing Crimea, said, we're building it. And it took 2 years and it was built. And my fact, quite a basic one, but that it was, blown up last year
Yes.
by the Ukrainians, and they think the British.
Okay.
Yes, the little. And so, but before it was blown up, was the longest bridge in Europe. That's my fact. The Crimean Bridge.
Was it though? Isn't there that bridge in Norway that's supposed to be so incredibly long?
Have I got a distance here for you? It's over 10
Also,
kilometers.
is it in Europe?
Yes.
Ah.
For that, I will say yes. For the sake of this fact, yes.
Oh, you're just gonna include an Asian bridge because
No.
is
I'm
is
not
east
trying to
of
trick
the-
you like that.
of the It is east of the Urals, which does make it kind of part of Asia.
Urals.
Yeah, the Ural Mountains.
Oh,
They're the main dividing line between Europe and Asia.
are they where sort of Turkey?
Up Poland, down
Oh.
in Eastern Europe.
Yes, but Russia's not part of Europe, man.
They run the whole. Oh yeah, but you just do just the whole of
aren't
Russia.
they? Yeah. So we'll
No,
call
just
it Europe.
because Russia's
Ukraine
in
was.
in the Eurovision Song Contest
You see, therefore,
doesn't necessarily
they're
make them part of Europe. Just because they play football in
aren't
UEFA.
they in the UEFA? Yeah,
Yeah.
you see.
Yeah, that doesn't make them part of Europe necessarily. I think many of their people would object to being called part of Europe, to be perfectly honest. Anyway,
Is
so
the
that,
Crimean
so that
Bridge
you're
the-
just saying,
Saying
if we include this bridge in the debate, it's the longest bridge in. Okay, so then
if we include like
yeah,
Russia,
I've got to try
yeah.
and think about where.
And
we
I can
might
give
be
you a
longer
distance here. I actually did 16.9 kilometers long.
It's pretty long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty long. It's not as long as me though, eh?
Hey, not long as Grant's.
Not
Not long as Grant's.
Grant's girlfriend, eh?
Always leave Mr. Smith alone now. He's had enough. Thanks, sir. Thanks. Can I just go to the bathroom?
Is Grant Smith somebody you really went to school with? I mean, because he
He's
really
a
could
Joe
be.
Soap type chap, but
He
that
really
was
could
the
be.
type of no. He's a Joe
Yeah,
Soap.
yeah. There is a long bridge in Norway, a very long one, and
Does it connect like Norway and Sweden or something, or Norway and Denmark or something like
well, there's that bridge from Bronbrun.
Bronbrun?
Did you ever watch Bronbrun? Bronbrun, Bronbrun is what's set off like the whole world's love affair with Scandi Noir. It's the series that starts out on the bridge, the dividing line between Norway and Sweden. A body is discovered, exactly 50% in Norway, 50% in Sweden, and the two police, like departments, have to work together to work out who killed this person. But then you see what happens is they pick up the body and it literally falls in two. The body's been cut neatly in two, 50%.
Ew.
Yeah. Anyway, but it's great. It's really, really good. Saga Noren is the Swedish investigator.
All right.
And she's great. She's one of the greatest detectives I think I've seen on TV. But no, I don't think that bridge itself. It might be that bridge, Malmo. That's the area.
Oh, that's
in Sweden.
Sweden. Yeah,
That's the area in Sweden connecting that. But I think there is another bridge in Norway that is longer. I mean, it's certainly very long. I don't know whether it's longer than this Crimean bridge. Fine, I don't know. I'm guessing. I cannot think of anywhere where there might be a longer bridge. I'm thinking maybe Greece somewhere, but the Greeks aren't that enthusiastic. They don't build things
Anymore.
that long. Yeah, no. Greece. Well, you know what Greece is really good at? Greece's number
Fishing?
one. No, they're not. Yeah, their number one thing is basically watching a great ancient empire crumble into dust. That is what Greek people are super good at. Just we did the thing. We built a great empire. You guys are still hustling for your empire. We get it. We understand. We're just gonna sit here and drink ouzo and have a good time.
Do they have to do anything with all those lovely islands?
That's right. That's right. We're just gonna sit in the sun and have a good time. And you guys build great empires. We don't care. Don't care anymore.
And the old Shirley Valentine then. Come, I take you on my boat. I won't make fuck with you.
Right.
He said he won't make fuck with me. There. You don't have to see Shirley Valentine anymore. If you haven't seen it, that's what it's about. Because then he goes and he makes fuck with her.
Oh, God.
So
in a human centipede.
Why did you have to spoil the romantic, the very romantic,
I'm
go
trying to
make
think.
fuck
Alright.
with you on my fishing boat?
Okay. The Crimean Bridge is the longest one in Europe, Brian.
Yeah, it bloody is, eh? Fucking is, eh?
Is it?
Yeah.
Good.
So simple as that. Do I have any other facts about it? No, there's a railway line that runs next to it. And, it was blown up, and there is some mud volcanoes underneath. They've got to be careful about that. But when they sink their things in, it goes quite far under the water, like 9 meters.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that's deep, eh? It's almost as deep as grass. Cool.
You could tell you were part of the first team sport at school, Ham. You can tell. You're just too good at that. You're too good at that. You know who can take shots, eh? You know, you can apart from Grant's girlfriend. You know who can take shots is Mikhail Kalashnikov's invention of the AK-47. Right. Hey, how's that for a segue? Anyway, so we're going to talk about the AK-47.
Engineering a gun,
we're going to talk about the AK-47. Yeah, it's one of the most popular assault rifles of all time. Right, one of the top-selling weapons. It's the national weapon of 106 countries, national armies, including China, Egypt, Syria. It's estimated over 100 million of these have been sold. But despite all of this, Kalashnikov never made any money on the AK-47, and that is my fact.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow. Maybe when you're serving your country, you can't patent a weapon, Maybe that's the kind of clause. That sucks. Not to mention that it reared its ugly head in South Africa, because, I recently watched the movie Bang Bang Club.
Yeah, I mean the thing about it is it's a very simple
thing.
weapon. It's a very simple weapon. So the story is if you can get around into the chamber, it will fire. And so you could, if you're a guerrilla army, like burying them in places and then digging them up and they work, like they are very, very. That's their principal success.
Just resilient little
Yeah,
weapons.
I mean it's one of the problems that America had going to Vietnam was they found that they're very expensive, very fancy, very technologically advanced rifles were just not working in the swamps and the humid environment. They just weren't operating properly. So whereas the AK-47, it'll do it. You can bury it in the dirt for 10 years, dig it up, and it'll fire again.
Wow.
It's that sort of weapon, and that's why it's become so popular.
Yeah. Uncontra Westies, where that was their vibe, the kind of revolutionary vibe. Cheers.
Thank you very much.
Stella Artois.
Yeah, cheers.
Nice
Let's
little-
do this.
Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, that's so that's the thing. But
Wow.
despite,
But he never
it's
made
selling
any money.
literally over
Yeah.
100 million rifles. Kalashnikov made no money off it. Nothing.
Yeah. No, I'd say that's true because maybe Soviet Union, yeah, poor bastard. No money. Fact is true.
You nailed it. In fact, you nailed the reason as well. You nailed everything about it. Yeah, because he said his creation was an offering in service to his nation and wasn't meant for earning revenue. But I can tell you something. Somebody's earned revenue off of that thing.
Yeah.
Somebody's
dude
made
from
a
Lord
lot
of
of
War.
money.
Remember that movie, Lord of War? Have you seen that?
Yes, I've seen
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
it's
very good.
It was a
It's
very
actually-
good movie. Based on a true, not a true story, but based on it.
But Nicolas Cage actually being a reasonable actor in that one.
Yeah. But there was such a person who was sort of Ukrainian born, went to America, and started having a whale of a time as an arms dealer, selling to people on both sides of conflicts all over the world. Real shyster. Kept his conscience clear by saying, hey, it's
I'm
just
not sure
business.
if that's not a racial slur.
What?
I just have to call it in there.
What? Shyster?
That one.
No.
Oh, is it not?
No. Shyster, no. It's a Yiddish word for someone who's a schmuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, shyster is just I think it
No,
means...
that's fine.
I
Just
think it
st-
means...
just stop saying it.
I think schmuck is a bad word. It means camel's knob.
Really?
And shyster just means shit.
Schmuck means. I always thought it meant idiot.
No, I think it means a camel's
It means
willy.
a camel's knob.
Yeah.
Fuck you, Dale Amler.
Yeah, and and then shyster, I think, is a shit. Someone who's just a shit. Then there's a shikster. I don't know what that is. Maybe I shouldn't say that one anymore.
Yeah, I think a shiksa is a. Yeah, never mind.
Is a lady who's
That's right.
Grant's girlfriend.
Grant's girlfriend.
Check my Yiddish, I can pump my
yeah,
Yiddish.
you're doing nicely. You're doing very well. Are we on to multiple choices now?
Yes.
I think it's you.
Yes, so poor Kalishnikov made no money.
Yeah. Not a thing.
You started this app, hey? Me?
I
No.
did. I did.
So
Yeah.
is it you on multiple choice? No, but you
Yeah.
just gave the Kalishnikov.
Oh, so then you've got another fact somewhere
No.
along the line.
Oh, yes, I do. Yes. Oh, this is... there's a theory that's growing that is becoming widely accepted, and it's growing. Ancient Egypt. Pyramid of Giza, actually. That I was first wanting to research, like, did they have foundations? Like you have to... You see, they build a concrete foundation
yeah.
before. Did Giza have it? But it turns out, no, it was built on a serious bed of rock.
Okay.
Serious bed of rock, so no need. But so it turns out that those big blocks didn't always fit perfect, and sometimes there were gaps, and so they had to fill the gaps with some sort of rubble, but also it had to be sort of cementy, and they actually had to dehydrate the rubble and just kind of burn it. And in this whole burning phase of this rubble, the in-between block stuff, they reckon that it led to the destruction of a large part of Egypt's forests. So that's my fact, which is a bit mind-mangling for myself. Firstly, the fact assumes that Egypt had forests and then they were destroyed especially for the purpose of making this kind of cement in between the blocks, specifically for the Giza pyramid and other pyramids, but Giza is the big one.
It is. Well, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a few of them.
Yeah. The pyramids
Pyramids
at Giza. Yeah.
Giza. So there's my fact that there were once forests and they were
Yeah,
destroyed.
so I mean, I don't know whether you've been following, but recently scientists have developed relatively new theories about how the pyramids were actually built.
Mhm.
And one of the things is that they say they built the lower level and then they flooded it. And so and then they would tow the blocks on water, on channels of water, flood the pyramid, which would then raise the raft, and then they could take the block off and
Sure.
put it in its right position, and then they would build that whole level, and then they could flood the next level and raise the raft to the next level with so that you wouldn't have to drag the stones up the side. And they said that's why the pyramids are actually hollow, because those channels were used for flooding.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, for flooding the thing and for getting the raft up there. So this is the new theory, which means though that every level needs to be waterproof, right? If that's true, so you couldn't just have loose blocks sort of sitting next to each other. You would have to. They would have to be
all the gaps
waterproof. Yeah,
Absolutely.
all the gaps would have to be full.
Yeah, with a proper cement-like thing.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise the rocks would have to be cut so smoothly, like the Mayan kind of pyramids, where they just for some reason, and the Inca, the rocks fit really smoothly next to each other. Yeah.
Really.
So yeah, they would have to, but this is obviously scale wise much larger, so they'd have to use much larger rocks in Giza. Yeah, so I mean, I'd imagine they'd have to have a system for filling them in. So yeah, okay, there's a cement. I'm prepared to believe that, or at least a rubble filler or a something. And I would imagine there is a process. Sure, why not? Why not? I mean, they certainly don't have any forests at the moment. Iceland used to have forests, for instance, and you see these photos of Iceland, and it's really like quite desolate there. It's like a moon surface. And in fact, they've tried to grow lupins in large parts of Iceland because there is no topsoil there.
Shit.
But the belief is that there was at some stage like forests, and that the Vikings who landed there chopped them all down, made ships and homes and things out of them, and now they've got no forest. So yeah, I mean, look, we've always been casual and played it fast and loose with the environment.
Yeah.
So let's say it goes back to the pyramids of Giza. It's true.
Yeah, it is true. And it is a bit sad that it's exactly to your point, that it's not just modern humans who are really decimating the planet, but we've always kind of done it. That's if this theory is true, which they claim that it is, that there were once large forests in Egypt, and then
Just
for the
chop them all down.
it's like not even ships necessarily and stuff, but for this large purpose of filling the gaps of the blocks of the pyramids, sort of
Yeah, but
making
also
the
totally
fires.
worth it, right?
Sure.
Totally worth it. I mean,
Beautiful.
one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. In fact, it's the only one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world that's still alive and around today for us to view now. So all the others are gone.
Shit.
And in fact, that leads perfectly.
Look at
perfectly
you.
into my multiple
But you've
choice.
done radio. You're so clever.
Leads perfectly into my multiple choice. The 7 wonders of the ancient world. So we know the pyramids of Giza exist, right? This is why I know, because you can go in Egypt and you can see them today. But which of these may never have existed at all?
Oh,
All right. So there's the Hanging Gardens of Babylon,
yeah.
built by a Babylonian king around 600 BCE. There's the Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, and the Lighthouse of Alexandria.
Oh, some of those may never have existed.
Now, one of these may
One
never,
of those.
One of these may never have existed. One of the ancient.
Mausoleum, or the Artemis Temple at Ephesus.
Yeah, so I'll
the
tell you what
Lighthouse
they're.
at
I'm gonna. What
Alexandria.
I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use general language to say what they supposedly were.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the Hanging Gardens of Babylon supposedly was near the Euphrates River in Iraq.
Yeah.
It went up 75 feet in the air and was a large square terrace covered in plants and water and these sorts of things. It's referenced in many Greek and Roman texts. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus is apparently was in Turkey. It was built in about 350 BCE. It's a big tomb, 135 feet tall and made of white marble. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus. It was apparently from in Ephesus in Turkey. It was apparently a temple covered in nature carvings, so deer and antelope and forests and these sorts of things. Yeah, and the lighthouse at Alexandria, right, which is apparently set on the island of Pharos, which is just off of Greece near Alexandria, and it used big mirrors to reflect sunlight to kind of guide incoming ships. Those are the ones.
Shit, that's good. Yeah, the Artemis goddess at least makes an appearance in the Book of Acts
Mm.
because Paul makes a big speech in Ephesus at the what's the amphitheater? I think it's called the I don't know how to pronounce it, but Areopagus.
So all of these have got multiple historic records. Every
Wow.
single one of them. There's
See,
multiple.
There's the problem.
Yeah.
So I can't believe that this is an actual that one of
Yeah.
them may not have actually existed.
Yeah.
That light. So I'll tell you where I'm going. Definitely the mausoleum. I've heard about it. I think it's a thing.
Yeah, as I say, we've definitely heard of all of them. People who lived in the era in and around the Mediterranean would have believed that all of them were real, because they reference them in their books, they talk about them.
So I'm thinking about it's that lighthouse of Alexandria. So Alexandria, as in on Pharos, not the one in Egypt. Okay, Alexandria on an island.
Yeah, so it was on
Maybe
the-
it's
yeah.
that, or maybe it's the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. There's always been this thing that's always just captured my imagination. Because what does a hanging garden mean? And the way you've described it,
Well,
just,
yeah,
it sounds
so
incredible.
it was supposed to be these kind of plateaus, and then the greenery would spill out
Jeez.
over the side, which is why it was called hanging.
Wow,
So they sort of spilt over from because the garden was raised,
wow.
and then the planting would come over the side, much like if you put plants on the edge of your balcony and then they
Okay,
kind
but
of
just
spilt out over the
quite
side.
epically
But then
huge.
but it's 75 feet high, and then the
Shit,
garden
man.
was right on top of it, and then these things would.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It sounds
so that's why it was
incredible.
called hanging gardens, because it looked like they were hanging from a distance, because the stone was allegedly the color of the sand, so then it would look like there was this greenery just floating in the sky.
And I think Babylon had these big, giant swimming pools, big ones, like big, just large, massive, like Olympic-sized, big things. You could just swim.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
Just
Babylon,
sounded like nice.
obviously.
I still think that sounds too sort of dreamy to maybe be true, and maybe they go, well, actually, it wasn't that great. Maybe they weren't really these hanging gardens.
Yeah, I mean, this
maybe
is
people
again,
were
this is the way people talked about
hallucinating.
them. Yeah.
So I'm going to go with, but I'm also thinking that mirror effect of that lighthouse thing, that also maybe it didn't really happen. But okay, well, Babylon. I mean, flip. Alexander rode into Babylon. Ah, man, and he had biographers and shit. So maybe I'm not okay. got it.
Babylon definitely existed. All of
No,
I mean,
I
it was,
know,
and like
but
it
the
definitely
hanging-
was
the
real.
hanging
Yeah.
gardens.
Yeah.
Though. Okay, let me go with Alexandra's lighthouse and Pharos that may not have existed. That's my final answer.
All right, let me do this thing. The Temple of Artemis, as you said, in Ephesus, it was destroyed and rebuilt many times, but it did exist. It was always on the same site in Turkey, what's now Turkey.
Okay.
In 262 CE,
Mm-hmm.
it was destroyed for the last time. Archaeologists have found some of the temple's columns in the late 1860s.
Oh, I see. So it was
So
destroyed.
yeah, the
eh?
Temple of Artemis we know for a fact
Okay.
exists.
All right.
There's hard proof it existed. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, which is the one you guessed, right?
Mhm.
So let me deal with the mausoleum at Halicarnassus. It stood in what's now Turkey, built in 353 BCE. It was 135 feet tall, made of white marble. It had a base of steps topped by columns that were then supported by a pyramid-shaped roof. And the mausoleum was destroyed by an earthquake in the 13th century. So it lasted, quite a while compared to some of the others.
Okay.
Its remains were later used to fortify a castle, so it definitely
Wow.
existed. And then the other one that definitely existed was the lighthouse at Alexandria, which was your guess, which was completed around 270 BCE, and it sat on the island of Pharos. It had these. It was 400 feet tall. It had these enormous mirrors that reflected the
Shucks.
light. Somewhere between about 956 and 1000 CE, the lighthouse was destroyed by a series of earthquakes. Archaeologists have found some of its remains at the bottom of the Nile, so we know that it existed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, supposedly built by a Babylonian king around 600 BCE. The gardens were supposed to be near the Euphrates River in Iraq, but there's absolutely no evidence that they ever existed. None whatsoever. So, yeah.
You
Tragic.
described it so well. You described it. No, yeah, they were just all there.
But no,
and
but,
of
that,
course
but,
they
that's,
all
but,
just
but this is it. We've got enough
Fuck.
texts to
Yes.
tell us what it looks like. We
Yes.
know travelers claim to. Have you heard the stories of the mountains of Kong?
Mm?
So the mountains of Kong appear on many maps, many European maps, and dozens of travelers wrote books about traveling to the mountains of Kong in the Congolese, like in Congo and Central Africa. But the mountains of Kong do not exist, which means that these explorers were all bullshitters. Every single one coming back saying that they'd been to the mountains of Kong.
You
It
went
was
to Babylon,
Emperor's New
Brie,
Clothes
just
of
Take some
mountains.
of these.
Yeah.
I can't believe it, eh?
And so the Hanging Gardens of Babylon are probably the mountains of Kong of their era. Yeah.
The Cure have a eerie song called "Hanging Gardens." It's very good, but you're not a. The Cure doesn't really do it for you, eh?
I mean, the Friday one's quite nice.
Cure fans would go there. That was their one sellout.
Yeah, no, listen, no, I mean, there's some of their stuff I'm okay with, but I'm more traditionally kind of, if I'm going to listen to music of that era, I'm going to go Joy Division.
Ah. Wow, so the Hanging Gardens of Babylon may not have existed. Shit, man.
Yeah, I mean,
what a sad note.
In fact,
Right, we've got one more.
it's very likely that they didn't exist there. It's not may never. It's very likely they never existed. Yeah.
Well, to pick us up from that sad note of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon.
Yeah, someone needs to build them now, right?
Yes.
Like, come on, Dubai, what are you doing with all this money?
My multiple choice will really lift the spirits here. During the Trump presidency, how many kilometers of the wall between the US and Mexico were actually built?
Well, listen, did Mexico pay for them? That's what I want to know. I think he built fence, didn't he? Didn't he build fence in the end? He didn't build wall. He built fence, and then there's that video of that guy who just climbs over the wall. He just shimmies over it.
Well, I understand that some wall reinforcements were built, which is what my question will be about. But some of the rest is just plain fence, and some is higher fence, reinforced fence. But of the wall,
is this the Great Wall of Mexico or the Great Wall of the United States? Because surely whoever pays for it gets to name it, right? Like, was it the Great Trumpian Wall? All 8 kilometers of it or whatever it is. I bet you it's like some tiny number. It's
so I've got a numerical multiple choice. Is it kilometers?
Okay.
200, around 200, around 400, around 600, around 800 kilometers. Built during his era. During his
it's
presidency.
200. It's the smallest one. It's for that. I would have said it was less than that. I would have gone like, yeah. And does that include fence, that 200 kilometers? Because I reckon
No, this is wall.
it's actual wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the answer is 400. Almost there. It was just a bit.
400's a lot for Trump. I didn't think he built quite as much as that. I would have said 12. Like I was
470, and then there was all these scenes of the day Biden took over. There was a big thing that he said, no more, and so now you've got crazy scenes, but lovely parts of Arizona's kind of Mount hilly parts were all kind of excavated in rather ugly fashion for the preparation of the building of the wall. Now it's all just desolate, and a lot of the equipment is still there, and it's all just a bit of a ghost town. And it's but it does look a bit ugly where they've had to blast sides of the mountain.
I mean, truly one of the world's great engineering feats, the Trump Wall. Really, I mean,
you know, a lot of engineering, but I don't know if the Wikipedia article I was reading was trying to be controversial, but plans to build a wall have been spoken about and discussed and almost acted on in all the previous presidents from Reagan. This is according to them.
Yeah.
But he made it a big electioneering thing, and he wanted to accelerate this thing. But obviously, border patrol stuff was an issue. But Reagan, first George Bush, Clinton, second George Bush, and Obama all spoke about it.
To be fair, the Great Wall of China isn't actually one wall. It's like it was a wall that was then extended, and then different rulers built.
Did it ever make a full circle and touch itself?
No, it was never supposed to do that. It was supposed to divide the.
Oh.
It runs from the sea all the way up. But I mean, it's so. So I saw a list that there's 8 engineering wonders of the world, right?
Ah,
And the Great Wall of China remains one of them. But
Sure.
the reason I didn't bring it up as part of the actual show here, because I mean we're pretty much done now, is because 2 of them were the Hoover Dam and the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge.
Ah, yeah.
I was like, well, I mean, clearly Americans voted for this because really the Golden Gate Bridge, fine, it's been in a lot of movies and shit, but it's not like there's a lot of bridges way more impressive than that. There are some other things on there that I would agree are probably, the International Space Station.
Okay.
So maybe it's worth having a look at. The Burj Khalifa's on that list. That's the tallest building ever built.
Okay.
But in general, it's a list that, come now, Americans, your shit's not so great, right? Like, let's vote for other people. Maybe leave your country. Maybe go and visit some other stuff from time to time. Oh.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that was Trump. 400, and then it stopped.
Brilliant. I'm glad that we entered on this like anti-engineering feat. What a great way to sum this up. Anyway, that was fantastic. Thank you very much.
That was fun.
Yeah, you guys, if you could like, subscribe, tell your friends, send me a love note. I'm very lonely. And we will...
And give Deet some ideas about whatever you want, we'll do, man.
Yeah.
Because we're tired of just taking...
Do you want to see Deets dance naked? Is that a thing that you think would improve the podcast?
We'll do a whole episode on that.
Yeah, we'll just do that. Ryan and I will sit here and drink beer and smack his ass.
Thanks for watching.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.